Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to another handsome episode of your favorite Mad Men podcast, Made Man, where tonight, Friday night, I just finished watching Season 5, Episode 9, Christmas Waltz. It's Christmas time in the city. So Merry Christmas, everybody. Christmas is a time of celebration, a time of joy, a time of sharing. But things don't seem to be going so well for Mr. Lane Price. Now, I don't consider myself a smart person. I don't understand things, per se. But it seems like Lane owes taxes in England. That's my understanding of it. I don't know exactly what was going on there. The guy was talking about pounds and this and your majesty and blah, blah, blah. And it seems like Lane owes some sort of taxes. So, he has a grand idea to get that money. What did he do? He yelled at his wife at one point. It was like, "Go back to bed. I'm Lane Price and go back to bed. Blah, blah, blah. I'm a very angry British man." And you feel bad for him because he seems like, things just don't go Lane's way. If he's got his girlfriend from the Playboy Club, well, that didn't go anywhere because his dad beat the crap out of him and he brought his family back to America. He's got some weird crush on some picture of some girl he found in a wallet, but that didn't go anywhere. And now he's in the hole for, I believe it was like $8,000. Problem is he doesn't have that money. So it's kind of, I shouldn't say it's kind of, when you're in charge of the finance for a company, I think what we just saw in this episode, now mind you, I could be jumping all over the place, but was this fraud? It was definitely stealing, right? So here's my idea of what happened. He owes this money to back in England. He doesn't have the money. So he goes to the bank that provides credit to the firm. And he asks them for an extension of credit to $50,000. He doesn't tell anyone else, any of the other partners, this. And the guy says, "Sure, we'll extend your credit $50,000, which technically means they have $50,000 more to spend, but they don't actually have that money. It's just more of a loan, I guess, right? That's how that works. So now he takes that $50,000 and he brings all the partners into a meeting and tells them, going through the books, we found a surplus of $50,000. So what I'd like to do is provide Christmas bonuses for everyone here." And Don's like, "That's great. We could wait till the Christmas party." And Lane's like, "No, we should do it now," because he wants that money to then give to the taxes. So they're like, "No, we should wait. And he's like, "No, I want to do it now." And he finally folds. They didn't really care about the Christmas bonus because there was another thing going on that was more important to the firm, actual business. And we'll get there. I jump all over the place. You know this by now. This is like, episode 60 or whatever. I don't know where I'm at, but believe me. He really wants the money now so he can just get this paid and over with. He can't wait till Christmas. And so when they decide that the bonuses are going to have to wait until Christmas, give them out at the Christmas party as part of a very, holiday gesture, he decides to one night break into, I want to say it's Joan's office, I think, goes through the checks, takes a blank check out, and he signs his name, and then he forges Don Draper's name and writes a check to himself for $7,500. So my thinking is, okay, he's taking this money now to pay off the taxes. He pays off the taxes, and now he'll wait for his Christmas bonus to come in, and Christmas bonus will come in, and he will probably give it back, or never cash the check, or something like that, so that money goes back and is accounted for. The only issue to me that I see is that this whole $50,000 isn't real. It's credit. It's a loan. It's not an actual thing. So I don't know if that is going to ever come up again. I feel like it must. It has to. But it's like the guys really didn't care about the bonuses. And so, and we'll get to the end of that. Let's cut off Lane's wife wanted to go to England. She's like, I'd really like to go back and see my father. I think that's what she meant, because she's like, oh, he's not doing well, Mother said. And Lane's like, oh, he's a stoic chap, something like that. I literally just watched it. And the mother's like, well, I could go, or I could just bring Nigel. It's Nigel, right? And Lane is like, I want to tell you something, that I could possibly be getting Jaguar back. And I really need to be here, and I don't want you to not be here. I don't want to spend another Christmas alone. Oh, Lane, that's wonderful news. Of course we'll stay with you. But my thinking is, Lane's like, I can't afford to send you to England. I can't afford to pay for these tickets. You need to stay. So I'll just tell you, I really want you to be here. That's my understanding. That is how I took it, at least. It's fun because we haven't seen Lane in a while. So this episode brings us a lot of characters that we haven't focused on in a while, and we haven't even seen. Oh yeah, we're going to get there. So business-wise, the big thing going on in the office this episode is, I'm yawning because that's what I do. It's the Jaguar. Now, I love Jaguar. I like saying Jaguar better because that's how they say it in the commercials now. The Jaguar. It sounds fancier. It sounds more British. Pete says it too. Pete says Jaguar. I think he says Jaguar. Jaguar? Growing up, I just say Jaguar. It's a Jaguar. It's a Jaguar. But I like to say Jaguar because it sounds better. The big thing is, so there's that guy that they had remember Lane had his friend and he wanted to do it one way. And then all the guys took him out and showed him real time with prostitutes and everything. That was the Jaguar guy. And it didn't work out. Excuse me. And it didn't work out, and the guy got really embarrassed. I think that led to the fight between Pete and Lane, I think. And they thought it was over with. Well, now this guy I guess he's going to be done at Jaguar. And Pete's kept contacts over there, and he is, all they are finalists. There's finalists. There's other firms that are finalists. None of them have cars. So they're all going to be focusing on trying to get a car. Getting a car is a big deal. As being the advertising agency for an automotive company seems to be a humongous deal. And that is the major focus of the business this side of time. I mean, we don't see really creative. We don't do anything with Ginsberg. We don't do anything with Stan or anything really with Peggy. She's in it a little, but nothing like what they're working on or anything like that. It's really just Jaguar, right? Yeah. Now, I'm jumping all over the place, but that's fine. Even Don was in this episode, but he wasn't any focus. He was there. There was at the beginning of the episode, he went to a play. Well, I wouldn't say right at the beginning, but he went to a play with Megan, and the play was kind of about anti-consumerism, he sees it as advertising. And I think he was a little annoyed that he had to go to that and have to hear to that. He took it out. He was a little rude to Megan. And Megan's like, you make fun of acting all the time. And he's like, you've made it clear you don't like advertising. I think he's still upset that he got her this wonderful job and she was really good at it and she left. Can you hear the siren? My wife's uncle, rest in peace, used to say siren instead of siren, and it just I've always enjoyed that. So I like to say siren. Jaguar and siren. Sounds like a name. So there was like this scene with, they went to this play, and it was probably like a big play in the 60s, or at least somewhat known. And that's what led to just, Don's like, I'm not hungry, but I will drink. And Megan, it wasn't a fight or anything, but it just, I wonder if it made Don question things, because it seemed like at some point he just wasn't into it. Sometimes you see him he's good at it, he loves it, and then other times he just kind of fades away and doesn't want to be a part of what he is, like that years ago when he went to California, just stayed there and hung out with people and hung out and saw Anna and stood in the ocean. He's had these moments of, what am I doing with my life? And I don't know exactly how the series ends. I mean, I've seen pictures. I have an idea. I don't know. But it always seems to be the show is Don Draper trying to figure out who the hell Don Draper is, who the hell Dick Whitman is. I didn't really see any evidence of that in this episode, except for, people saying it to him. So he's in the office one day, and Joan gets a letter in the mail. Oh, it says, there's someone here to see you, Joan. Not a letter in the mail. And he's like, Joan Harris? Yes. You've been served. And Joan flips out on the secretary, yells at her, says she's incompetent, throws the Mohawk little airplane at her. Just kind of unfair. This girl didn't know any better. And she got served with divorce papers from Greg, the asshole husband. Don actually came out to see the commotion and just whisked her away. And said, come on, let's go. So the big thing about Jaguar is they want people to test drive these cars, see what it's like, to get an idea of, knowledge of the actual product. And Pete was like, you should go. He goes, you should bring Megan, get a couple. And he's like, yeah, okay, right. Don's even thinking Megan doesn't want anything to do with advertising now. She doesn't want to do this. She doesn't want to go there. So what does he do? He takes Joan with her. Get Joan out of the office. She's like, it's too early for lunch. She's like, we're not going to lunch. Next thing you know, they're in the Jaguar dealership, which looked like a really fancy showroom. And I'm correct, the Jaguars are British cars, right? Yeah. This fancy showroom with these fancy cars, and it's just amazing what these cars are probably worth. And hearing, they look at these different cars, and they're pretending to be a couple. And Don's like, how much is this car? He's like, oh, it's $5,600. They want to take it out for a test drive, but the guy's like, I can't let you go alone. You can drive or she can drive, but I have to go with you. And Don's like, how much is the car worth? She goes, 50. He says $5,600. He writes a check for $6,000. He goes, here's $6,000. If we don't come back, consider we bought it. Now, that's risking the fact that check is real. I mean, it could have been just these two con artists just stole a car. So he takes Joan out with the Jaguar, and they get some drinks, and they just kind of talk. Don was just being a good friend, I guess, right? I mean, he talked about the car not really meaning, like, he's like, car doesn't really do anything for me. And Joan says, it's because you have everything. You don't need anything. Like for someone who doesn't have the best life, getting a car like that is amazing. But Don, who's, pretty much, he's worked for it, but he's got a lot of great things. It's like, what do I need this car for? That was almost like, is this like a hint of the dawn of a new era for Don? A new dawn for Don? I don't know. But they just kind of talked a little bit about Joan and divorce. And Don's like, you don't realize that it's a great thing. You don't realize how bad it had to get for it to get this far. And now you have a new beginning. And she's like, yeah, a new start to what? Date? And when do I tell people, oh, I've got a child? And how do you deal with the child? What date do I tell that? And Don's like, when you go all the way. And they drank and had some laughs, and Don tried to get her to dance. And I didn't see this. It's weird because the old Don Draper, you think, oh, they're going to end up in bed together. But this Don Draper, I thought, then Don's just being a good friend, to a longtime friend. And Don talked about how he was afraid of her when she was there early, how some of the guys in the office thought she was a lesbian, how, just like Bert said, you don't cross her. And Joan talked about how, at work she has it all under control and all these things, but, obviously at home it's not that way. And there was a guy at the bar kind of looking at her, and Don said, what about him? What about him? And she was like, well, what if he has someone at home? What if this? What if that? Finally, Don gives some money, takes a last drink and says, good night. And here's some cab fare if it doesn't work out. So basically he was good. He left her. And of course he drove the Jaguar back to the dealership. Then he showed up back at home and he was stumbling and bumbling drunk. And Megan was pissed because she had no idea where he was. He left work at noon, and he tried to say, look, he told her, he goes, this is what happened. We had to test drive. We went to Jaguar. We test drove a car. We got drinks with Joan, drove the car back. And she's like, you need to tell me. She threw her spaghetti across the room. That's the spaghetti that led to the what was the advertising for? Was it the hot dog? Was it a hot dog? I don't know what it was. It was beans, the Heinz beans, with all through the time. That's spaghetti to Megan, and she threw it. Oh, the spaghetti. So Megan was really pissed, and he's like, she yelled at him, you used to like your job, and he said something about, it's not the same there, is what he said. And I think she said, you used to like your job because why would you leave at noon and not go back? And he said, it's not the same there. And what he meant was, because you're not there. And she said, you'd liked advertising before me. And they just kind of ate in silence. I don't know. I don't think Don dislikes his job. I don't think Don dislikes advertising. It seems like he actually gets fired up by the end of this episode. What I think Don dislikes is that Megan is doing this other thing. He's supporting her because he loves her, but he misses her at work. He liked having her there. She was good at it, and he was proud of her. And I think maybe he feels not used, but he almost feels like, like he helped bring her along in something she was actually really good at. And he kind of, not credit, but like, he was like, look what we accomplished. Look what you accomplished. And he supported her. And instead she's like, no, I really want to be an actress. And I don't even know if she can act. I mean, obviously the actress can act, but like, can Megan act? We've never actually seen her do anything. Are we ever going to see her perform? Is she going to be good? Is she going to suck? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I think that was the end of kind of that Don thing. Don wasn't a huge part in this episode. He had his moments with Joan, but it was Joan's segment. It was Joan's story. Don was just there. Pete and Don talked a little bit Jaguar. Don was there during the Lane stuff, but again, that was Lane's story with the credit and the taxes and the stealing and the bonuses. And the Jaguar. Now, the end of the episode, why don't we wait on the end of the episode? Let's rewind back and see some characters that we haven't focused on recently, and one we haven't seen in, I want to say, years? Seasons? Not since Sterling, Cooper, Draper, Price. They left the old Sterling Cooper and started their own firm. I don't think we've seen Paul Kinsey once. Maybe when they talked about, because they worked at that other firm, maybe we saw them before. But I don't think we've seen him. And even when I heard the name, I was like, whoa, cool. I wondered what happened to him. Oh, what happened to Mr. Kinsey? So at the beginning of this episode, while Lane was kind of meandering into the office, I think trying to... before he went and got the credit, Lane met with Harry just to talk about projections for advertising for TV, but it's just projections. And Lane tried to use that to for the credit, but the guy was like, well, I don't really deal with projections. We deal with actual contracts and actual deals. But it was okay, I guess, because Lane got the $50,000. Maybe he would have got more. I don't know. But Harry is, he's a pretty big deal with TV. And let me tell you something. He got wait a minute. So Harry was in his office. He's got a TV in his office. The secretary was there trying to get the TV to work with the rabbit ears. And she said, you have a call from Mr. Kinsey. And Harry was like, he didn't really want to deal with him. You could see he was kind of like, he hadn't seen him in a while. And he was probably, going to be asked for money. And I don't think Harry likes dealing with people awkwardly and hasn't seen this guy in a while. He's a little weird. And believe me, he's about to get a little weirder. So Harry's like, fine, we'll meet for lunch. And he goes to this place. And we're like, where's Paul Kinsey? Wait, there's this big dude with a shaved head dressed in Hare Krishna. Now, I have to be honest with you. I don't know what Hare Krishna is. Is it a religion? Is it a movement? All I know, growing up, Hare Krishna were these guys in the Airplane movie who said Hare Krishna, and the whole joke was these people were always at the airport trying to get donations, trying to recruit you. I don't know if it's like, not a cult, but I'm saying, is it a practicing religion? Or is it a sect of religion? It has something to do with Indian heritage, I think. Because, Harry shows up, and there's Paul in full, head shaved, got the hair in the back, got this yellow makeup on his face, in a full gown, and Paul was like, oh my God. And he was like, this is weird. He actually says, I should go. And then this woman shows up who Harry seemed kind of like, ooh, this girl's kind of cute. Her name was Lakshmi. And Paul had a name too, and I don't remember. It was a long name. And they're like, come on, everyone's welcome. Come on, let's sit down for a little bit. And the priest or the leader comes out, and they do this chanting for a while of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, which I feel like I've heard that. I don't know if I heard it, again, from Airplane, which is a terrible representation of whatever it really is. But Harry was just kind of like, whatever. And the girl kept whispering the lyrics, the words into his ear so he'd get it. And remember, from previous listener emails, Harry is a creep. Okay? So this girl's whispering into his ears. And he's probably thinking, oh yeah, I'll do anything with this girl. And boom, he starts just getting into the chanting, and Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. He really got into it, and when they stopped chanting, he kept going. That's how big he was into it. And Kinsey's finally like, come on, let's get out of here. Let's go get something to eat. And what happens? They go to this diner, and he's like, listen, I need you to help me. I love Lakshmi. I want to start a life with her. And it was like, but I need your help. And Harry's like, oh great, here it is. You're asking for money. It's like, I'm not asking for money. I can't give you a job. There's no jobs, No, I'm not looking for a job. What I'm looking for is you to read this. And he takes out, it's a spec script for Star Trek. So what a spec script is let's say you are an aspiring writer. You could write spec scripts, meaning speculative, meaning you weren't hired to write for a TV show, but you watch a TV show, you know a TV show, so you try writing an episode of a TV show. I feel like there was years and years ago, these kids wrote a spec script for Tiny Toons. And Steven Spielberg actually ended up producing the episode of their script. I feel like people have become famous or become actual writers from writing Simpsons spec scripts and Seinfeld spec scripts. They're just, like, let's say I sat down and tried to write a script to, Sunny in Philadelphia. That's a spec script because, again, now maybe I actually give it to them and they actually like it. And then it becomes a real script. They go, oh, this was based on, just something that's submitted. So that's what this was. This was a script called The Negron Complex. And he's like, I just need you to read it. Can you get it to your people? I want it to be the season opener for next year at Star Trek. And Harry's like, if there is a next season. Now, I don't know what year exactly the Star Trek thing is, but Star Trek is a giant story, popular intellectual property, science fiction world. But at first, it was just kind of a failed TV show. What was it on? 3 seasons, and it got canceled. So that was his way. Maybe that was a clever way of them saying that Star Trek was getting canceled at that point. They did get another season. But I know they were talking about NBC, and I want to say that Star Trek was on 2 networks. Like, it was on NBC, then on CBS. I think it was one of those shows. I could be wrong. But he's like, I think this is the greatest thing I've ever written. It's called The Negron Complex. I really want you to read it. And I want you to get it to the executives at NBC or into Mr. Roddenberry's hands. And Harry's like, I don't know if I can do that. It's not really how it works. He's like, oh, come on. You do so much advertising and buying for NBC. You don't think you could get them to read it? And even Harry was like, oh, okay, I can see what I could do. He's like, at least just read it. Read the first 15 pages. If you can't, if you don't like it, that's fine. Just please try reading it. He's like, yeah, sure, I will. So, I think like my fridge just went on. It was very loud. You know what, folks? I think this is a perfect time to take a nice break and hear a word from our sponsor. Okay, so where I was last talking was that Kinsey gave Harry his spec script for Star Trek. So Harry comes in to work the next day or a couple days later, and he sees Peggy, and he's like, listen, I need you to do me a favor. Can you read this? And she's like, what is this? He goes, it's from Kinsey, and, that's what he says. He goes, how come you never thought of Kinsey when we brought in Ginsberg? She's like, oh, he wasn't submitted. He's like, oh. She goes, but you never thought of him? She goes, well, I thought he was working at this firm, and this firm, and that firm, and this firm, and then the A&P, which I think is a grocery store, but I'm not sure. So it just kind of seems like she knew that he was bouncing around to all these different firms, never really stuck anywhere. And that's probably what led him to maybe becoming Hare Krishna, because it was like he was looking for something. I'm not even sure if what he's looking for is this, because in the conversations he was having with Harry, he was like, he likes the girl, Lakshmi, who is actually a woman named Janet, who had drug and alcohol problems. She cleaned up and found her calling, and he's there for her. It seems like he's only there for the girl. He loves the girl. He wants to be with the girl, so he's there, but he doesn't really care about it that much. He's like, he doesn't even think the head guy likes him. It was like, he just felt really like you could see he was kind of in a crisis of confidence, crisis of identity, where he's like, I did this, and I'm trying this, and I'm doing this, and I want this girl, but he really just wants to write science fiction. We already have a good writer in Sterling Cooper, Draper, Price. And even though he's not supposed to be writing, Ken Cosgrove still writes. So, anyway, he says, can you please read the script? I just need a second person to read it. And Peggy's like, the Negron Complex? And he's like, it's pronounced Negron. And it rhymes with Catan, which is what the Negrons pick because they are slaves of the Kakasan. And it took me a second. I was like, wait, what? Oh, wait. They're saying they pick cotton and they're slaves of the Kakasan, which is Caucasian. And I was like, that's not really that clever. And guess what? It isn't, because apparently the script's not very good. And he said, he goes, she's like, oh, I thought there'd be a twist. He goes, oh, the twist is the Negrons are white. Oh, great. And she's like, Pete, oh, not Pete. Harry's like, he worked really hard. It was really hard for him to make this. And she's like, well, maybe that's the thing. If it was this hard for him to do something that wasn't very good, maybe it's not for him. Just tell him the truth. So later on in Harry's office, there's a knock at the door, and it said, hey, there's someone named Lakshmi here. And he's like, oh, please see her in. And he gets up, and he puts his jacket on. He tries to look really good. And the secretary brings Lakshmi in. So her name's Janet. Brings Lakshmi in, and she's like, thank you very much. She goes, when I talked to my wife about meeting a nanny, I really appreciate you being here. Saying this also, the secretary thinks that this is a nanny candidate. They close the door, and they start talking. And she's like, I have stopped thinking about you. I'm on fire for you. He goes, I'm married. No, he said, what about Paul? He goes, we're not together. That's not how this works. I don't belong to him. He goes, well, I have a wife. She goes, well, I burn for you. Does your wife burn for you? And that was enough for creep Harry. You remember, Harry is what was it? Scum or something like that. I forget what I read from that email a couple weeks ago. But I thought that was pretty funny. Just thinking of seeing Harry now and thinking back to that email. Harry's like, okay. She moves a few things on the desk, bends over, and says, take me like this. And Harry, you can see Harry light up like, whoa, all right. Now, my first thought was, should you lock the door? I guess people don't just walk in on offices, but should you lock your door? Is it locked? And you could see people walking by outside. That didn't seem to bother Harry. He apparently made love to this Lakshmi. He'd made Lakshmi love. And after he was sitting there, he's like, oh, that was great. And she's like, listen, I need you to stay away from Paul. She does not want to hurt. He goes, I don't want you to encourage him with those terrible science fiction scripts. She wants him in the movement, in the Hare Krishna. She wants him buying in completely, and she doesn't want any distractions of anything else. And Harry's a distraction. He's like, well, why are you telling me this? And she goes, that's why I gave you, I was giving you the only thing I had to offer. He's like, you already gave it to me, meaning sex. She slaps him across the face, says, you stay away from him completely. And you know what? Harry, as much as he is a tool, seemed to have a conscience, because he ignored Lakshmi, and he went to meet he went to meet Kinsey at a diner. And this was pretty funny, actually, because he's like, listen, I talked to the executives, and legally they can't take the script. They really liked it, but they can't take the script, and you can't contact them, and you can never talk to them about the script. Meaning he didn't do anything. He didn't do a friggin' thing. But he's like, listen, you can't do this here. This is your future. And he gives him a folder, a little envelope. There's $500 in here and a bus ticket to California. I think, right? Was the bus ticket too? He goes, I want you to go to California, and I want you to start. There's nothing for you here. I want you to leave the Hare Krishnas, don't forget about Lakshmi. She just holds you back, and I want you to go. And he goes, all these people say they're going to help me, and you're the only one who has. Gives him a big hug, and I guess this is the end of Kinsey. Maybe he does go to California. Maybe he does start writing scripts. We'll see. It'd be funny if, next year we see him. He's got all his hair back, and he's a Hollywood elitist. Not a Hollywood elitist, but you know how he, in those early seasons, he was smoking his pipe, and he was like, I'm an intellectual, and I'm a scholar. And I want him to kind of be that way in Hollywood, too. I want him to go and actually make it. I hope he does. I hope there's something with that. This was a weird little moment for him to bring him back. I hope there's a payoff that we see someday. That'd be fun to see. I think that really covered that part of the episode there. The last thing was, at the end of the episode, they were talking about the Christmas bonus is coming, and and the Jaguar, and they wanted to make a big announcement to let everyone know. But there was a bit of an issue. Oh, Lane Price, you never have any luck. So Mohawk Air is going on strike. Now, they're not leaving the firm, but they are suspending all business. Why? They're not spending any advertising dollars while they're on strike, which makes sense, but that means no money's coming in to the firm, which means the $50,000, that the surplus they had, is going to be coming in handy because they need that money. But Lane needed that money. In fact, that money wasn't even there. That was credit. So Lane could kind of fraudulently do Christmas bonuses to pay for his taxes. And now they're like, well, we shouldn't do Christmas bonuses. And Lane's like, damn it, no, we need a Christmas celebration. He makes it seem like he's really into this Christmas bonus, but, we know the truth. And finally they're like, well, Bert's like, well, maybe just the partners will defer then. And, Lane's like, even the junior partners? Yes, until we know for sure what happens. Basically, everyone else gets a Christmas bonus, just not the partners. So everything Lane did to actually get the money worked, but to actually get the money in his pocket and get it kind of untraced didn't work, because now there's going to be $7,500 missing. Now he does the books, right? So I'm not sure how he's going to account for that, or if he's just, I don't know. We'll see. But it's funny, they called everyone in the meeting, and they went in to tell people that we want to let you know. Oh, and what's his name? Oh my God, I can't remember. Oh, Roger. Roger's like, Lane, tell him. So Lane goes on to say, Mohawk Air is on strike, and because of that, we were going to deliver you Christmas bonuses, but now the partners have decided to defer for their part, and everyone's just kind of standing there like, what? Roger says, you're all getting Christmas bonuses, none of us are. And everyone cheered and clapped and was very happy. And then Pete decided to tell them that they're in the running for Jaguar. And everyone was like, cool. Throughout this episode, Pete was like, you could see he was really excited about this, and no one was as excited about it. Bert said that the Jaguars are lemons. Rogers, Don was like, this is a pipe dream. It's a wish list. But, let me know when something's real. And even when Pete was saying this, it wasn't, there's nothing, it's exciting because maybe it's going to happen, but it's not like news where it's like, this happened and let's celebrate. We got a win. They're trying to get a win. They don't have the win yet. But then Don gives this great speech, and he's like, I just want to say a couple things. Last year at this time, we weren't sure where this firm was going to be, and now we're taking a leap into greatness. And we have 6 weekends or whatever until the pitch, and we're going to spend them all here. We're going to spend Christmas here. We're going to spend New Year's here. We're going to work our asses off here, so that when it's all said and done, we're the firm with Jaguar. People, will be on the map. The firm that has, every firm has a car. We'll be on the map with our car. Blah blah blah. Gives a great speech, and the people are clapping for him. So they clap for the Christmas bonus. They clap for Don's speech, and Pete was just like, well, I have something very exciting to tell you. And everyone was like, oh, that's great. So Pete didn't get his due. Don took it from him, and I love it. And everyone's clapping. And then Don, my office, the creative team leaves, which is Peggy, Stan, Ginsberg, and everyone's excited. And you see Lane with this look on his face like, great. Shit. I've got to figure out what to do with $7,500. This is not how I talk. I'm not from Liverpool. I'm not sure if that's a Liverpool accent. And that was really it. Now, there was a scene, there was a moment that I forgot to talk about. Roger had some moments in this episode, and I would think it was Pearl Harbor Day. And what does he do on Pearl Harbor Day? He got drunk. He drank in the morning. Later on, he's walking around a Christmas, colorful Christmas shirt. Didn't really care. It was like 3 sheets to the wind. And he talked to Joan a little bit, and he seemed like he wanted to say to her that he wants to be part of her life. He wants to be part of Kevin's life because he's Kevin's dad. She doesn't want it at all. She doesn't want any money from anything. He's like, I told you I'd take care of him until college. She didn't want that. She didn't want that at all. So there was that, and I still feel like those two kids should be together. God damn it. And then later on, he brings flowers into her. He's like, how many times have I brought another man's, seen you reading a card from another man's flowers? The flowers said your mom was good, and it said Allie something. And I was like, wait, I heard that name earlier. And then I realized I'm pretty sure these flowers were sent by Dawn. And I think that was an inside joke. Right? I got that, right? But I just thought I wanted to bring up that, and I wanted to bring up Roger offering to be a part of this kid's life. And Joan just kind of like, nope, no thanks, I'm good. And Joan's getting divorced. But good, because that husband is garbage. Dawn's wife was upset, but I think they'll get over it. She was just a little emotional. Probably because Dawn is dismissive to acting, and how is he being dismissive to advertising? I don't know. It seemed like he was a little distraught there. He was drunk driving that Jaguar, but he was like, man, shifting. It was pretty good. Let's see. Lane Price. He's in a little bit of hot water. No, I don't even know what accent that was. He's in... he has got himself in a little bit of a pickle. And he had a plan, and every corner that he went for that plan, it didn't work. The credit, he didn't get, I don't think he got as much as he wanted. The Christmas bonuses, he had to wait till Christmas, to the point where he had to forge a check. And then the Christmas bonus isn't even happening to him. Oh, hell. Lane, how are you going to get out of this one? Oh boy, we'll see. We will see. I'd like to, I don't think this is the end of this. I feel like something's going to come up again with the money, the $7,500, something. They can't just bring up something this big. Something this big happen without nothing happening to it. And the Kinsey thing. I mean, the Harry thing was just like he sexed some woman, sexed her in his office. This woman was manipulative, and Harry's a creep, and but he is a creep with a heart of some gold, because he seemed to help Kinsey out, even though his script was shit. He still wanted to help him out, which I thought, okay, there's some kind of endearment. Endearment? That's a term, right? Get it? Boom. Movie title. There's still something endearing about Harry. So I don't completely hate him. In fact, I enjoy watching him. Like, the character is, he's really becoming like a womanizing jerk. But I really like the way the actor delivers it, says the lines. Like, he's a likable person to me. Not a likable person, but like, I guess his characteristics, the way he talks, his little one-liners, his jokes, I enjoy that. His like neuroses, I enjoy that. I like seeing it on screen. Now, he's not a nice person. That's completely separate from that. But it was fun to be with this much time with Harry. It's been a while. It's been even longer to see Kinsey. Joan got some moments, and those were and Lane. Good to see these other characters getting a focus of things. This was the Christmas Waltz. I wanted to know, what was the Christmas Waltz? I mean, it's Christmas time, and the waltz is a dance, and it's a dance. It seemed like the Christmas Waltz to me was Lane. This was his whole dance. Like, he set up this whole dance, this routine where he had to dance around. I had to dance over here and tell my wife, I want you in town for Jaguar, even though he didn't seem to have too much to do with it. He needs to stay in town. He wants you he doesn't want to be in Christmas alone. He had to dance with the creditors to get $50,000. He had to dance around with the team to talk them into doing Christmas bonuses. He had to dance quietly in the office so he could steal the money and write himself a check. So I believe that is what the Christmas Waltz is to me, as far as the theme of the story. And I think I nailed it. I think I'm done. Now, real quick, I want to pull up I'm making too much noise. I want to pull up my Instagram really quick. Click, 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 click. And I want to give a shout out to Mr. J. Perry in the state of Texas, USA. He sent me a message that said, "Hey man, just want to say keep up the great work with the Made Man podcast. It's one of the things I look forward to every week. And go Red Sox." He's a Red Sox fan in Texas. You know how hard that is? You know, I lived in Florida for a year, and I have to tell you, living in Florida as a Red Sox fan is easy because most of the people are from out of town. Most of them are from New York or Florida or Massachusetts or Philadelphia. You know, they're just fans from all over the place. You're not like, oh, I'm in Tampa Bay Rays country here. No one cared about the Rays where I lived. Everyone was from everywhere else. But you're in Texas, I don't know exactly where in Texas, but they have the Rangers, they have the Astros. You know, there's a hardcore baseball fans out there. Not to mention football fans. I don't know. He didn't say anything about football. I'm assuming he's probably a Texans or a Cowboys fan. If you're a Patriots fan out there, my God, then you're in trouble. I think that's crazy. That's even crazier. Go Pats, by the way. And I just want to say, Jay, thank you for listening. That's awesome. I love it, and I hope you enjoyed the shout-out that I just gave you. I told you, if you email me, mademan@fans.experts.com, if you tweet me @mademanpod, and if you say something nice, I mean, I'm not going to say something. I'm not going to read. You know what? If you say something crappy, I guess I'll read it too. Whatever. But I will give you a shout out. I'll give you a read. And you know where to find me. All these links to the Twitter and to the Facebook page, which I never select. I have like little messages on there from other podcasts I do. And I'm like, oh, I should probably click on those. But I never want to because I haven't done the podcast in a while. And so I'm like, let me just put it off. Made Man, I'm here for you every week. So it's a lot easier for me to talk to you guys because this is my favorite podcast to do because it's just me talking. There's no preparation. There's no writing. There's no production. I mean, obviously you could tell this is a quick operation where I hit record and I just go, which is what makes it so much fun. And it's amazing to me that people are out there listening to this. Amazing. So I just want to thank you guys constantly, every week. You know, as I say, this podcast doesn't get huge numbers. We don't have a huge listenership. There's not tons of downloads, but it's very consistent, meaning you guys come back week after week to listen to me talk about a show that hasn't been on the air for years. And I hope when this is done, you guys will follow me onto whatever the next adventure is. Because I want to do other shows. Maybe they're shows I've watched already and I just want to rewatch them. Maybe they're shows I've never seen before, just like Mad Men, and I watch it for the first time. But I enjoy this kind of once a week, hitting record and just talking. I have diarrhea of the mouth sometimes. And I'm glad I could share my diarrhea with you. That doesn't sound right. That does not sound right at all. And I know the moment I was saying it that I should probably stop. But at the same time, I thought, well, this is kind of clever. I'm going to say it. And I did. So, my friends, let's just get everything out of the way again. If this is the first time you found us, fansnotexperts.com/mademan. Everything's there for you to subscribe. We do an episode every week, and by we, I mean me. Again, the email is mademan@fansnotexperts.com. The Twitter is @mademanpod. And until next week, I want to say thank you for listening. Have a great week, everybody. And I want to thank you. Oh, here it comes. Here's the voice. Oh, it's almost just like it just turns on. It
it has a mind of its own. And it's like, oh, it's time for me to talk. It's time for that nerdy high voice to go away. And this cool, kind of like Wolfman Jack sounding voice to come in and say thank you.
It's like, you ever watch that Sunday Countdown on ESPN?
ESPN, NFL Countdown.
It's like that guy. Oh, see, I could just slip right in and out of it. Wow, what talent.
So I want to say thank you so much for listening. And thank you as I
was going to cough there.
As I go on this journey to become a maid.
Oh, man, I'm going to cough really bad. Excuse me. You know what? I have a little Dunkin' Donuts. Take a little sip.
As I strive to become a maid man.
Good night.
Fans not experts.